Professor Grzegorz Kołodko, former Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance in the crucial years 2002 and 2003. Good evening, sir. Delighted to have you with us.
Good evening.
Welcome, Professor. So, I'd love you to share with our audience, Professor, what the atmosphere was like, what the challenges were like when you were Finance Minister, just before Poland was accepted into the European Union, and how did you get over them?
It was quite difficult to put everything in order because we have to build the institutions which made Poland compatible with the regulation of the European Union. I do remember the debates, the arguments of that difficult time, and pretty often what I hear today as a kind of echo, there was a discussion how much we will pay to the budget of the European Union, how much we will get to our public finance. It was also a very big effort to convince everybody that we will be a so-called net benefactor of the European financial transfers. But I'm an economist, and from my perspective, the most important it had been to build, to establish the regulation, the institutions, but also economic and political culture, enabling Poland's economy to be more competitive, to be open not only for integration within the European Union, but to be open as a forthcoming member of the European Union for efficient and good, profitable relations for our economy with the other world. And it was quite difficult. I have to convince most of the people in Poland, because a year before we joined, we did have the national referendum. And it wasn't just the case to be convinced, myself and fellow politicians, majority in the parliament, etc., but the public opinion. A public opinion, as you know better than myself, is very much managed, if I may say, or shaped by media, much more than, say, by professors or governments' arguments. So the public debate was very difficult. And the third aspect was to have the majority of the societies in the old 15 members of the European Union on our side. During that period of time, when I was Deputy Prime Minister, Minister of Finance for the fourth time, because before, earlier, was in 94, 97, acting in the same position at the helm of Polish economic policy and structural reforms, I did visit each and every 15 countries of the European Union, and I do remember what questions I've been asked. But during my visit and discussion with the policymakers from UK to Italy, from Portugal to Germany, each and every of the former so-called old 15 countries, I did take advantage of my professorship. I visited universities and I was talking to the intellectuals, to academia, but also to media. Whenever I was as the Polish Deputy Prime Minister, I was very keen to be on primetime TV. And I do remember what I was being asked mainly, first of all, about Polish agriculture. How we are going to solve the problem of non-competitive agriculture. And as you see, as people know from the news, we still have the problem with our agriculture within the European Union. Our farmers have different agenda, different priorities than some other part of the societies. So that's the process.
Right.
Today is 20 years since we are the member of the European Union. But before we got to the European Union, there was another, even more than 15 years. We did not start our history in 1989. The reforms of late 80s also did contribute a little bit to this great change of the Polish and European reality. And we stay with Europe for another, not only 20 years, but forever. Nothing is forever, but the European Union has very good future, and Poland within the European Union too. We are very glad that we have joined the European Union, and I think at the best conditions which we could negotiate at that time. Always there are debates, could we accomplish more, could we get more from the European Union as far as the financial transfers are concerned, should we pay a little bit less, but I think that the balance is very positive, and at the moment of joining 20 years ago, what we have negotiated in Copenhagen at the summit, and then what we signed at Athens Treaty in mid of April in 2003, already 21 years ago, was an optimum solution.
Right. Professor, so you've mentioned Poland's profits as well as the public opinion. And according to Rzeczpospolita Daily, Poland has gained 160 billion euro in net profit. However, only 53% of Poles believe that EU membership is a positive thing. So why this divergence?
Because what I said already, public opinion is being shaped not by the hard facts. That is what we're supposed to establish when we do our research. That is what knowledge-based economics is about. I also expect it from media. But as you know, media are being involved also in the political talk of the war. There are some Euro fans, but there are also some Eurosceptics, and people, they rather believe in something that they know the facts. And you just mentioned, you pointed to a fact. What is the net sum of transfers, how much we contributed to the European Union in financial terms, and how much we've got. And we means Poland, Polish nation, Polish society. Now there is less than 38 million of us, actually a little bit less. That Polish nations was counting at the day of accession to the European Union. But they are the people which feel a little bit more that they are getting something in terms of financial progress from our membership, and there are some people which don't feel it. But one more time, public opinion is based by the media debate, and you, as the people of media and people which are watching us, they know that now they can switch to another TV channel and they will get some different comments than the one which I'm sharing with you. I'm convinced all the time that it was very beneficial for us, but I'm also very much aware that there are some Eurosceptics which don't feel that much this good side of the membership in the European Union. So what to do? That is what we do. Just keep saying what are the facts, right, and sharing the professional, honest interpretation of the fact with the public opinion.
Understood, and of course take your point about the influence of the media, but it's about people's perception. And if you look at the changes in society, in the economy, Poland's GDP per capita growth is 40% higher now than if it had not joined the EU. So I think people are actually seeing a positive benefit in their back pockets. And yet there is still some scepticism, as Sally just said. And I suspect there is more to it, and I can't lay my finger on it. Do you have any other thoughts?
I'm very much aware of the skepticism, but if we compare, the question is what is the relevance? One comparison is where we are and where we were, say, 20 years ago, and therefore how fast was a Polish economy growing, or in a broader sense, social economic developing? Was it to have higher rate of growth? Well, I may say yes, it was possible from, say, theoretical viewpoint, but not because of the fact that we are in the European Union, we didn't have even higher rate of growth. That was the result of some external shocks, but first of all, of our domestic policy. Last 20 years, same as last 35 years, since after the round table in which I did also take a part, it's not a smooth line of average growth, 3.5%, 4%, depends which year is the year of comparison of departure. There were ups and downs, and these ups and downs, faster and slower, this was the result of the policy which was executed here in Warsaw by Polish governments which were sometimes left of the center, sometimes right of the center, sometimes maybe a little bit too neoliberal, sometimes definitely a little bit too populistic, sometimes the mixture of both, and that is the result. So therefore, the second comparison is we against the others. How Poland performed if compared with the richer countries of us, and this is what you have already touched. We were growing faster than rich part of the European Union, say France or Germany. Most of the time, Germany is a relevant country, but recently, the economists, my colleagues, are pointing to the fact that our GDP per capita is already at the purchasing power parity, as we should use the measure for comparison. Right. Not only higher than in Greece and in Portugal, that we are almost catching up a year with Spain and therefore maybe a little bit later also with Italy. But this is the income per capita. And our standard of living depends not only on income, but also on stocks. How much we have already, and now how much our income is growing. Right. So definitely the economic situation, I think, for, if not everybody, almost everybody has improved significantly over this generation. 20 years is already a generation. Many of us are taking it as something very obvious, but to some extent, this is a result of being a member of the European Union. Right. And outside of that, there is the result of the policy, which can be better or worse. Is somebody in the European or is somebody outside of the European Union? So one comparison is with the past, second comparison is with the others, and third, what it would be under the perfect circumstances. But nobody is perfect, even Poland. Yet sometimes we are doing better than some other countries.
Absolutely. And quite consistently over the last 20 years. Professor, unfortunately the clock has beaten us, but thank you very much for coming along and sharing your expertise.
I thank you for the invitation, and don't wait with the invitation another 20 years. Let's
well, we certainly hope not.
Let's meet again when we'll be celebrating 25th anniversary. Times go very fast, and I wish everybody that it will be better than it is, and it will.
I'm sure it will.
Absolutely. Thank you, Professor, for being with us.